Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back now with the former Irish international rugby player, the legendary John "The Bull" Hayes, who's also a beef farmer. And I know some of you are finishing your desserts, and I hope you enjoyed your meal so far. But there'll be some lovely entertainment for you now as you complete your meal. So, John, thank you so much for coming up to us and joining us here at this event. And John, obviously you're famed for your sporting ability, but off the pitch you're also a well-known advocate of the Hereford breed. And a lot of our farmers here are rearing and finishing Hereford cross calves. But just to start us off, John, can you just tell us a little bit about your background, your farm down there in Limerick, what system you're operating, why the Hereford breed? And obviously you have a few young farm hands down there as well, giving you a dig out.
From Cappamore in County Limerick. We were dairy farmer when I was young until I was about 8 or 9, and Dad switched into suckling back then. So from then, that was back in the 80s, and it was sucklers all the way from there. And we always had a Hereford bull when he switched over. That's what we went to, and it always seemed to work really well for our area in Cappamore. The land is, as you can see, the boys putting up there, mixed and challenging at times, even on some of the other years. So the Hereford always seemed to be a good fit with it.
John, as all of us in this room are fully aware, there are huge difficulties facing suckler and beef farmers today. The sector is in a real bind, as we heard Christy earlier drawing comparisons between beef farming and rugby, and how it's a game of inches. How would you describe how the sector is performing today?
Well, I think the farmers are definitely trying their best anyway. There's no question about it. I think every farmer, they want to do it, and they're not afraid of work, because if they were, they wouldn't do it. Like it really is something that you have to love doing, and everybody is trying their best, but it is challenging when you hear that we export 90% of our beef. We just need to know that there is markets being sought always further afield than just around Europe. So, and the uncertainty obviously then around Brexit at the moment is it is making things, there's an awful lot of unknown out there. People are just maybe holding off on investments and changing and stuff like that, because they just don't know what's going to happen in possibly this year or next year, in the years to come.
And John, if I could just turn back the clock a bit to say the height of your international career for Ireland and Munster and for the Lions, and you were just catapulted into the fast lane there, and beef farming was still going on for you in the wings. How did you manage operating and committing in both codes, and were there certain advantages to rugby coming from your farming background, and vice versa? Did you bring any benefits to the farm from rugby?
Oh, definitely. There's, like Christy was saying, there is challenge that you see how rugby challenges you as a person. You have to keep improving all the time. But for me, when I was doing both at the time, Dad was at home. He was running the show most of the time at that stage. But any days off, weekends and stuff like that, I was back at home. Contractors, we started to use them more often because there was just wasn't time to do stuff all the time. So we were getting in contractors to do work. So that was really how we were trying to run it from day to day. And I suppose professionals at the time, there was a little bit more time. You were getting more days off where you were able to get home and get jobs done. But then as it got more and more, I suppose I was getting older as well, and it was getting harder to do a day's work on a Wednesday and go back training Thursday and Friday, play Saturday and work again Sunday. So trying to do it all, it was getting harder and harder. But using contractors for the summer, getting silage done and things like that, relieved a lot of the pressure from that. So that was really how I kind of managed both of them. But from like even just looking at the Six Nations this year, when things weren't going so well for the boys, I remember when I played in Six Nations like that and they weren't good, a day off on a Wednesday in Dublin was into the car on Tuesday night and home. And I definitely think it benefited me getting back into camp on Wednesday night or Thursday morning, having had a break from it. So that's where, for me, farming was really enjoyable. Might have been a hard day's work, but it was a great day to be gone out of camp.
And everybody here is obviously very aware of the work ethic that's involved in commission to agriculture. Did you bring that type of work ethic with you as well onto the pitch, or did it play a role that way?
I think so. I think sometimes even as farmers you don't even realise it. You just grow up with a work ethic. I know when I grew up at home it wasn't even an option. You were just out working, and my children are the same as well. They're always out working, and when you go in there you just don't see hard work. What you think is just normal. Maybe some fellas think that that's a bit of a hard work having to do stuff, but I think farmers definitely do have that just natural habit of just having to work hard always. That it's whatever you're asked to do, it's not a big deal.
And did you bring anything from the pitch back inside the farm gate?
Yeah, you would have. Preparation, I suppose, is the biggest thing. You just don't turn up and see how it's going to. You have to try and get an idea of schedules, what's coming up, getting a look at how things will work out and when you can do it best, instead of just turning up and seeing just getting up in the morning and see what's going to happen. Like you get more idea about preparing for work in the future ahead of you.
John, there's obviously loads of key moments in your sporting career that we'd like to discuss with you, but if I could just bring you back to one game and one moment in particular, lining out against England for the first time in Croke Park on February 24, 2007 for the Six Nations. Rule 42 had been abolished, emotions very high, there was a lot on the line, but it turned out to be one of the greatest days, most iconic days in Irish sport. But can you tell us what was going through your head during the national anthem?
Yeah, just there was nearly pressure of responsibility. I think the year before, like we knew, Lansdowne Road was closed now, and we were going redeveloping it. So there was a lot of talk in the country all around about whether or not sports like rugby and soccer should be played in Croke Park. And people had their opinion both ways, but we were Irish people and we wanted to play in Croke Park. So eventually, then it was opened up for us, and we really appreciated what had to happen for us to play there. And when we got those first couple of games, then it became obvious that England were going to be there at the second game. So we just knew like there's a game that you can't lose, like where losing isn't an option. And that was one of those days. And I think in the lead up to it, the whole build up in the week, even the 2-3 weeks before it, every radio station, everything was talking about it. Whether or not it should have happened, was there going to be protests outside and all, and things like that. So we were fully aware of it. And just on the pitch, when you just went out and talk about an atmosphere that you could cut with a knife, well, that was definitely one of those days where there was an extra special atmosphere.
Would you say, John, it was your greatest day in an Irish jersey, or would you say your greatest achievement was in a Munster jersey or playing for the Lions?
No, I'd say that nearly as an occasion. I think that's definitely the most special occasion to be at that day there. I think the whole country was watching that game. Like everybody knows, everybody doesn't watch rugby when it's on in the Six Nations because they're they watch other sports and sort of. But that day, I think everybody was watching for whatever reasons, whether they thought we should be there, we shouldn't be there, but they watched it, and just the way the game worked out itself, then with the scoreline, the way everybody played, it was just one of the best days ever to be involved in playing sport.
Well, John, if I can move forward to today, I suppose we've hit a few bumps in the road in the Six Nations recently. How confident would you be as a player going into the Rugby World Cup later this year?
I think they'll be okay. I think Irish people, we get a bit ahead of ourselves and then we get a bit behind ourselves when things go wrong. We had a great year last year, 2018, won the Grand Slam, beat the All Blacks at the end of the year, but we were ready to take on the world, and after that, then we obviously played in the Six Nations. Things didn't go well, and now they're seriously worried, are we even going to compete there on the tour? So I think we will. Six Nations didn't go according to plan. Some few players didn't play well. They're still great players. It will come back to them. So they're back with their provinces now playing, and they're going well as well now. We're still into the knockout stages of Europe, and the Pro 14 will be in that as well. And then there'll be a summer break, and then they'll come back into camp, I think, refreshed with a target that they've got a little bit of a kind of a reality check that maybe it's not as easy as what it was. They're realising now that people target Ireland as maybe they did traditionally always just New Zealand or Australia, that Ireland are now a target for other teams like Wales. When you see them beating us, like they knew that for them to beat us was a big achievement for them in their progress, that they want to see what they can do this year. That they think now that they beat Ireland, that they can actually now go further in the World Cup. So that's where we're at, and we have to just kind of accept that and get used to it and know how we can deal with it, and in those big games that there is going to be expectation now and how to deal with that.
Are you surprised at how it has changed over the last few months in terms of the memento and the level of expectation? Are you surprised at where we're at the moment?
Yeah, a little bit. I actually thought this team was different from even teams that I played on, that they were more used to it, and I thought they would deal with it better. But I think England's, whether they like to admit it or not, they came to Dublin as well, knowing that they needed to measure up to us to know where they were for this year, because they had a poor year last year. And I think when they did really put it up to us on today and they got us and they beat us, it has shaken us a little bit. And it's hard to regain that during the Six Nations, because everybody says the Six Nations is about momentum. If you get it at the start like Wales did, you can go on and win it. If you don't at the start like Ireland did, you can struggle for the rest of it, which is what we did. So that word momentum comes up all the time, and it is really important in the Six Nations. And that'll be the same in the World Cup, how the games fall for us. But I think if we get going in that and build into it, we can definitely still get back to where we were last year.
Great. Well, finally, John, look, we're all here tonight for the launch of the phase 2 of the Teagasc Green Acres Calf to Beef programme. Earlier, you've outlined some of the challenges faced in the beef sector at the moment, but what are your thoughts on this type of initiative? And, there is potentially still hope for maybe a 15th participant in the programme. If you play your cards.
Can be expanded.
But what are your thoughts on a dairy calf to beef production system?
It's obviously something, and even I'm an awful lot more informed tonight than I was coming up, because just from listening to all the speakers and the lads that have done it for the last 3 years. But I think it is something that you have to look at as beef farmers, as suckler farmers that are all over Ireland. There obviously are some bigger suckler farmers that are more viable because of that, but there is a lot of options for other farms that are not as big, and it could be something for them to do. And I think it could be something to look at for me as well in the future, either to go with it, because you see some of them have sucklers as well as the dairy to beef, so it might be something to look into.
Great. Well, you have the right people in the room here to talk to anyways, John.
I think in Ireland we have them. We know that as well in the Teagasc, what we have here in Ireland is brilliant.
Great. Well, John, thank you very much. And I'm just going to open it up to the floor if anybody has any questions that they'd like to put to John. No take. Oh, yes, Cormac.
Your prediction for the Heineken Cup and your prediction for the Guinness programme.
The Heineken Cup is Munster have sours.
There's your biggest fan, by the way, there, John. That fella there is smiling, drinking the coffee.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Munster have Saracens away. The head would definitely be saying possibly Saracens, but the heart will always say Munster. I just think they could go over there and get the job done over there, but it's going to be so difficult. Sarries are back. They had a bit of a bad year last year, but they're back this year. It's on in England for them as well, which will be a huge bonus for them. I think Leinster then kind of got lucky with Toulouse beating Racing, because that brought the semi-final to Dublin for them. So at the moment you'll be kind of looking at that Leinster should get to the final and possibly Saracens, but I hope it's Munster. It could be a Leinster-Munster final.
And just a follow-up question, can I clear? If it was Leinster-Munster final, who'd win?
Tell you what, there wouldn't be much in it. Like if you were looking at last year, Leinster were out in front. They were beating everybody. If you were asked this time last year, you'd definitely say Leinster. There'd be no question about it. But Leinster haven't been blowing teams away like they were last year. Some of their players, like just speaking about the Six Nations, haven't been playing that well, so they'll have to try and regain that form for Leinster and that. But Munster, I think, have really developed from last year as a team. I'd say if they got to a final, they'd love to have a good crack at Leinster in it.
Great. And Fergal, did you have a...
No, I just want to know what Munster and Saracens now and all.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's just Saracens are really back playing well from what they were last year. No, I think Leinster had them in the quarter final last year. They were even lucky to get into the quarter final last year. But this year they're back now. A lot of their big players are back, and you saw what they did to Glasgow in the quarter final. They have Munster now in the recon, so it would be a big effort out of Munster to go over there and win. But Munster will show up. I think the way they're playing at the moment, they will go over and they'll give it everything.
Okay. We might leave it there. So, John, look, thank you so much. We're delighted to have you here tonight. And thank you all for listening intently to him. And we also hope you're right about your predictions for the World Cup for us.
Well, I think so. Yeah,
Great.
The summer will be good to us, I think.
Good. And just to wrap up proceedings as well here tonight, I just want to thank all the speakers and sponsors and Teagasc and all those who worked behind the scenes in organising this great event this evening. Thank you also to the Tullamore Court Hotel. You've done a fabulous job hosting us and providing a delicious meal. And finally, we just want to wish all the best to the 14 farmers embarking on phase 2 of the programme. And it's clear after tonight that you're all in very good hands. So that's it for this evening. Thank you all very much for coming, and good night and safe home.